Hello, everybody. Welcome to Read This Next. We want to help you find your next favorite book with suggestions for titles on different topics. Our focus this month is mysteries. The fantastic thing about a traditional murder mystery is that you get both the puzzle and the solution. This month, we have suggestions for both contemporary and historical mysteries. So why not try something new and match wits with some of the best and most engaging detectives around? For a contemporary mystery featuring a competent and honorable main character trying to make things right, try Still Life by Louise Penny. Armand Gamache is a senior homicide investigator in rural Quebec. Details of life in the bilingual and bicultural province are woven into a murder investigation that appears, at first, to be a simple hunting accident. For a more conflicted main character, try Bluebird Bluebird by Attica Locke. Texas Ranger Darren Matthews knows that doing his job as a black man in rural East Texas is hard enough. But he's also a magnet for other people's problems. Can he figure out what connects a dead local white woman to a dead black lawyer from Chicago without letting anyone know he's actually been suspended from the force? If you prefer a strong dose of humor to lighten an otherwise very serious topic, try The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Oseman. Ron, Joyce, Ibrahim, and Elizabeth live in an English retirement village and, out of boredom, created the Thursday Murder Club in order to discuss unsolved murders. But what started as an intellectual exercise becomes very serious when a local developer is murdered and a photo of Ron's son is found near the body. The lightest of cozy mysteries almost always include pets. In Mimi Lee Gets a Clue by Jennifer J. Chow, Mimi has just opened her new pet grooming salon, and her sister has given her Marshmallow, a Persian cat, as a gift. Marshmallow is definitely gifted, since he can communicate with other cats, with dogs, and with Mimi, which comes in handy when a confrontation with the owner of a puppy mill makes Mimi the prime suspect in a murder. Now, before we get to the historical mysteries, let's talk about Agatha Christie. She's the best-selling mystery author of all time. Her books are like popcorn, and most people end up reading one book after the other after the other. But with more than 60 titles to choose from, where do you start? We're here to help. Agatha Christie's two most famous amateur detectives are Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple. Poirot is a former detective, ostensibly retired, and fond of traveling to exotic locales, where people always seem to end up murdered. The Mysterious Affair at Styles is the first book featuring Poirot. Miss Marple is Poirot's complete opposite. She lives in the quintessential English village, and her polite persistence always pays off. A good Miss Marple title, to start with, is A Murder is Announced. If you want to begin with a quicker read, one of Agatha Christie's most famous short stories is The Witness for the Prosecution. This courtroom drama begins at the end. A wealthy woman is dead. The man accused of her murder stands to inherit her fortune. Who is telling the truth? Who is lying? And why has the prosecution called the man's wife as its star witness? Now, if you love the way historical mysteries take you to other times and places, we have some great titles for you. The most famous setting for a mystery novel is London, and the most famous detective of all time is, of course, Sherlock Holmes. But what if that name were merely an alias, and the famous detective was really a woman? In A Study in Scarlet Women by Sherry Thomas, Charlotte Holmes has been banished by her family and lives in London and uses her unusual talents to help the police. When an aristocrat's overdose shifts into a murder investigation and her father and her sister become suspects, Charlotte has to face her family all over again. Our next choice takes place in 1892 and was inspired by a real case. Murder in Old Bombay by Nev March. While recovering from battlefield injuries, Captain Jim Agnihotri reads about two young women who have fallen from the university's clock tower. But the family doesn't believe they committed suicide, and neither does the captain. He begins an investigation, but asking certain questions in colonial India might be more dangerous than fighting on the northwest frontier. If you prefer a lighter version of the classic English mystery, try Death at Wentwater Court by Carola Dunn. World War I has ended, and Daisy Dalrymple has decided to move away from her upper-class relatives to earn her own living. Her social connections allow her to write about the country homes of the aristocracy for Town and Country, which puts her right in the middle of a murder investigation. A decade later, on the other side of the world, the effects of World War I can still be felt. A Few Right-Thinking Men by Solari Gentle is set in 1930 Sydney, where Roland Sinclair is just trying to live his own life. He loves his much older brother, but he doesn't agree with his values, or those of the other Australian landowners. Only their uncle, the family disgrace, accepts Rowley as he is. But then that uncle is murdered, and it turns out Rowley himself was the intended target. If you love reading about ordinary people caught up in extraordinary times, try Mr. Churchill's Secretary by Susan Elia Mcneil. Maggie Hope finds herself in London in 1940. She isn't even British, she's American. But when a secretary from number 10 Downing Street is mugged and killed, Maggie takes the job and soon discovers that her predecessor's murder was intentional, and that England faces enemies closer to home than the Nazis. That's it. Those are our titles for today. We hope you enjoy these selections. All of today's titles are available digitally through the library's website. For more reading suggestions, call the Crystal Lake Public Library. Thank you so much for making us part of your day, and remember to keep reading.